Alright, in the last video we saw this was the sequence generating function for this particular sequence. But what if our original sequence had this alternating pattern of the signs? So what I want you to see here is if I take -1, the number -1 to the 0 power, I get +1. If I take it to the first power, I get -1. If I take it to the second power, I get +1 again. If I take it to the third power, I get -1. So you can see when it's even, I get +1, and when I take -1 to an odd power, I get -1. And since the evens and odds alternate from one to the next, the pattern of positive and negative will alternate from one to the next if we have a -1 to a power in our sequence generating function. So that's how we handle the alternating signs like this. So I know the pattern of the terms are going to be given by what we had before. It's now we just have to get the -1 to a power correct. Okay, so again, this is n equals 1 and it's positive. All right, remember odds gave negatives, so we need to get this to a positive, so we need an even number. So that two ways we can do it is to take the odd number and either subtract 1 or add 1, and typically we subtract 1 for this. Notice now these have the exact same powers, so we can just multiply these numbers together, and I'll say that our sequence generating function is -5 to the n minus 1 over 2 plus 2n. All right, and you can check it. All right, -5 to the, again, this is n equals 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0, -5 to the 0 is 1. All right, when n is 2, this would be -5 to the 2 minus 1, -5 to the first, which would be a -5. All right, when n is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, -5 to the +2 would be, -5 to the second will be the same thing as 5 to the second. So you can see we get the alternating pattern there. So that would be the simplest way to write that. All right, well, what about if it leads off with a negative? Well, again, n is equal to 1 because that's the first term. And you can see that we're leading off with a negative, so the power on -1 is odd. So this would be okay to just leave as n. All right, now 5 to the n minus 1 can be written as 5 to the n times 5 to the -1. All right, and now these again have the same power, so I can combine those and write this as -5 to the n times 5 to the -1 over the 2 plus 2n. So this is fine, but this original would also have been fine since they don't have the same powers. So you can simplify it to this, or you can just leave it in that form. But either way, when you have an alternating signs in your sequence, then you're going to have some type of a negative number to a -1 or a negative number to a power to take care of that sign swap.